I'm Ben Elkins. I was a major crimes detective for Thurston County Sheriff's Office, located in Olympia, Washington. I had a law enforcement career for over 28 years. I always liked being challenged. Most people don't have that opportunity to see the real evil in society. But as a law enforcement officer, you had the challenge to figure out who did it and hold them accountable.
A woman who lives on a ranch calls the Thurston County Sheriff's Department to report that her boyfriend has been missing for 3 days. Detective Elkins responds to the call. This woman is Tina Inman. Her boyfriend is Clark Calhoun. He's 53 years old, and he's employed as a handyman on this ranch.
Hi. Following up on your missing persons report.
My dad came to work on this ranch, had some hard times in life. The owners of the ranch were friends, and so they saw an opportunity to help him get back on his feet.
My dad was no stranger to the farm life and to taking care of the animals and repairing things that needed to be repaired. He was somebody who could fix pretty much anything.
As a perk of his employment, he's given a space to park his trailer. So he has a trailer he lives in, and it's kept there on the property at no charge to Mr. Calhoun.
The ownership of the property was a brotherly partnership, but the one brother that lived on it owned most of the property, and then the other brother, Joel, he owned a smaller portion of it.
It was a very large piece of property. It was pushing 200 acres between the two of them.
When's the last time you saw Clark?
3 days ago.
Miss Inman explains that on the 28th of December, she, Mr. Calhoun, and another friend, Randy, were intending to go shopping in the evening. They were about to leave when Jeremy Leninger, son of one of the two brothers that owns the place, came up on a tractor and stopped them.
Hey, Clark.
Yeah.
He asked Clark to stay behind and help build some fences.
So Clark goes with Jeremy off to do this work, and Miss Inman and her friend Randy continue on with her shopping.
Clark? Mom?
Miss Inman returns quite late from her shopping trip,
Clark?
but Clark isn't there. So the next morning, when she wakes up, Clark still isn't there. And by the morning of the third day, she decides to report this to the police.
Does Clark carry a cell phone?
No, he uses mine. He just wouldn't do something like this. I mean, he even left his wallet there.
She says, the only thing that isn't here is a turquoise and silver ring that he often wears. So Elkins thinks maybe this isn't somebody missing. Maybe it's somebody who's been done away with.
I just know something bad has happened to him.
As an investigator, there's always these things called indicators. And when I interviewed Tina, I didn't pick up on any indicators that she was involved in any foul play.
Did Clark have any enemies? Was anybody out to get him?
Not really.
Inman says no, everybody loves Clark, but there was something a few days ago that struck her as very odd. She says one of the owners mentioned to her that Jeremy, the son of the owners, had complained to her that he was missing $150, and he believed that Clark had taken this money from his truck.
Tina never indicated that Clark all of a sudden had extra money, because he would have shared that with her. They would have used it for groceries or whatever.
Okay, Tina. Here's my card. If you think of anything else,
Elkins, of course, wants to have confirmation of what Inman has to say. You cannot rely on a single source. So Elkins runs down Randy, the friend who was in the car when Clark and Inman were going to go shopping.
Excuse me, Randy. Yeah. Detective Elkin, you got a minute to speak with me?
He explains to Randy that Clark has been missing now for 3 days, and he wants to know what he recalls about the night he went missing.
3 of us were getting ready to go in town. Jeremy came and grabbed Clark, needed help doing something.
Both their statements were very consistent on the last time that they had both seen him and what transpired.
Elkins then asks Randy, has there been any confrontations with anyone that you're aware of?
No, everybody's getting along just fine here.
I understand that Jeremy thought Clark stole some money from him.
Nah, that's news to me.
Randy said they have no issues between them. So there's still this lingering question of where did this accusation come from?
If you can think of anything, give us a call.
And why is that floating around out there?
So the next person to interview was Jeremy Linenger.
Jeremy's the last person that was seen with Clark, so the antennas started to go up.
Jeremy, you got a minute to take a break?
Now, if you are conducting a field interview, you want to put this person on your turf, your ground, not theirs.
Why don't we speak in the car? It's cold out.
Okay.
You invite him into your office that happens to have 4 wheels and an engine. It's as efficient as a building and a hell of a lot quicker.
So the 28th of December, what happened? What went on that day?
See, we started stringing some barbed wire along Jerry's fence.
And then Clark says, I've got to meet somebody out at the gate. There's somebody coming to see me.
You say who?
No, he just said, I'm gonna go meet a friend down at the gate.
Now, Jeremy introduces Mr. X into this conversation. Somebody comes to see our missing person. So who is Mr. X, and why would he have to go to the gate to see him?
That's the last time I seen him. No one saw him the rest of the night.
All right, and then tell me about the money being stolen from your truck.
I had $80 in the glove box. Someone took it, they got lost.
Okay. Did you talk to Clark about it?
No, I just figured it was gone.
Jeremy downplayed it, that it was no big deal, and he really didn't say anything in regards to it being a problem between him or Clark. All right. Anything else you can do?
No, she can leave me with a business card.
Jeremy's cooperative, friendly, reports he has nothing to hide. After Elkins interviews him, he's back to square one. Where is Mr. Calhoun? And what condition is he in?
There was a concern that maybe something had happened where he died on the property. It was a very cold time of year, and easily, if somebody would have been out in the elements, they could have easily got hypothermia and passed out or whatever.
So just as a guard against any other possibilities, he organizes a search party.
We spent several hours on the property, going everywhere we could think of. We were able to coordinate with a rescue dog organization to come out to the property with our unit.
Miss Inman provides these dogs with some of Calhoun's clothing, which contain his scent. A dog has an olfactory sense 600 times greater than a human. They can pick up a scent in the air. It's remarkable.
But at the end of the day, unfortunately, we were unable to find Clark.
No blood, no clothing, no nothing. It's just not there. And neither is Mr. Calhoun.
had suspicions that something happened that could have been foul play, but I didn't know what yet. So what we did is initially we put out a missing person bulletin.
We began to put up a missing persons poster all over town.
Putting up the flyers for my dad really made things a reality. It really made things sink in that something was terribly wrong.
Missing persons generally are found relatively quickly. If they're not found quickly, they didn't come home because they can't. Now it's weeks later, and 2 environmental scientists are doing water samples 2 counties away from Thurston County. They noticed something half submerged in the bottom mud flow in a river. And half buried in this silt is the body of a Caucasian male. They notify the local county sheriff's office. They respond.
My name is Detective Lorenzo Gladson. I've been a detective for the last 6 years with the Calais County Sheriff's Office. Our first goal was to identify who this person was.
The detectives down there were aware of our missing person bolo that Ben Elkins had put out.
Yeah, hey, I think you better get down here. Yeah, we might have found your guy.
He sees a silver and turquoise ring on one hand. Well, my. How'd you get here from 2 counties away? So Gladson calls Detective Elkins in Thurston County SO and says, I'm pretty sure I have found your missing man, Clark Calhoun.
Hey, Gladson. Hey. What do we got here?
His body was pretty dirty with mud. He was not wearing any socks or shoes.
There was no evidence that we could find at that point because it had been so long down until he'd been found.
How did he get in the middle of this river? Was he drunk? Did he have a heart attack and die and fell in the river? What happened to him? There's a long list.
At that point, we made arrangements to respond down to Cowles County Coroner's Office. And that's when I attended the autopsy.
From drifting down the river, he's going to have some injuries. He was hung up on rocks, so yeah, he's going to have some scrapes and scratches.
But when that silt is removed with a hose, it becomes rather obvious how he got in that river. He's got 2 large caliber gunshot wounds. That'll do it.
At that point, we realized that the body was likely dumped in the river, that this was not just a death investigation, but a homicide investigation.
People don't understand that bodies are very difficult to dispose of, and it'll just float away. It'll go to Mexico, it'll go to Japan. We got to get rid of this body, we got to get rid of it right now. Emotion takes over judgment in those circumstances.
In Clark's body, the doctor did find a bullet.
We measured and weighed the round. I was able to identify it as a .45 caliber round. The significance of the .45 caliber round being removed from Clark was that if we were able to later develop a suspect, we know that we're looking for a .45 caliber gun associated with that suspect.
We actually had a case where we had another homicide, and we had a bullet that was retrieved from the victim. And we had information that that same type gun had been used in target practice, and we were able to find a bullet and a shell casing, and they matched. So it helped make the case. We were hoping, to be able to find a bullet that would be in pristine condition, on the property. We now had additional leads to follow up on.
So this is the worst possible turnout of a missing persons case. Not only deceased, not only dead, but murdered. You have to tell his family, Mr. Calhoun has had his life taken.
At my dad's core, he was a good, caring, loving person. Wow. And he was amazing when I was little. But because of my dad's choices, a lot of my family had been estranged for many years.
My dad had been through some ups and downs, drug, alcohol related. And as he came back, I saw a hope for him to get his life back in a direction that was more healthy for himself and for our family.
My brother's goal was to get closer to family and try to reconnect with his children.
We made plans for my husband and I to take our kids to see him on New Year's Day. And Tina said that he was really, really excited. Well, there is no way that he would have missed a chance to see me and his grandkids.
Deep down, I had always hoped that I would have my dad back in my life. But at the same time, it brought peace knowing that he could be brought home and laid to rest. And it felt like we were going to start getting answers at that point.
Investigations change their personality as they proceed, but everything emanates from a 100-acre farm at the base of Mount Rainier. There is Jeremy Leninger, the son of the owners. There's Randy. There's Clark Calhoun's girlfriend. There's Mr. X at the front gate. They're on this little lazy Susan in the middle of this table. Who's sitting in this lazy Susan is responsible for making Mr. Calhoun collect silt in the river.
Now we're investigating a homicide, so we would have to basically start over and go back to the ranch, re-interview, and talk to everybody.
With Jeremy being the last person that had been seen with Clark, Jeremy became a real person of interest. He lived with his mother and father at the time.
Joel and Karen Kane, Jeremy's parents, who are half owners in the property, live in close proximity to where this body was discovered.
Thank you.
We were able to identify various information that led to probable cause to get a search warrant.
With Jeremy being the last person seen with Clark, we were really searching Jeremy's address. It just happened to be owned by his dad. Jeremy was not at home at the time.
I participated in the search warrant of Jeremy Leininger's home.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Detective Gladson.
When law enforcement arrived to Joel and Karen's house, Karen was told it was regarding Clark missing.
What do you mean he's missing?
Karen knew Clark from the ranch, but Karen didn't know that Clark was found with 2 bullet holes in him and presumed to have been murdered.
My husband told me that he moved to California.
California.
Gladson's thought was, unless California is in the middle of the Cowee River, he didn't move to California. He also wonders, why would her husband, Joel, tell her he just moved away?
Oh, well, I'm sorry to tell you he's not in California. We found his body down by the river.
You could see on her face, her demeanor was thinking, well, how can that be?
They inform her they have a search warrant for the premises, and they're searching for a handgun.
Step aside, please, ma'am.
At the time they were executing the search warrant, they hear Karen, his wife, call Joel and say, your buddies from Thurston County are here.
She obviously was not happy for us being there.
Your ass off my property. Please calm down, sir.
While I was searching the inside of the Leininger home, I heard a loud commotion and somebody screaming out towards the driveway.
What the hell's going on here? Trespassing.
Joel comes rolling into his property.
And here is Joel going out of his mind, ordering the police out of his home. They have no right.
Get your ass off my property. Wait right there. You got no right to be here.
When a detective went over and explained to him that we had a search warrant for the property, he got very angry.
You wonder, why would somebody do that? What are you afraid we're going to find in this house?
Get the hell away from me.
The deputy grabbed a hold of Joel Leininger's wrist, trying to detain him, and the struggle ensued.
Trespassing. Hey, get the hell away from me. Don't you touch me.
People believe they know their rights. I will assure you that no one knows their rights unless they went to law school.
Sir, I'm placing you under arrest for obstruction of justice.
A search warrant's been issued for the premise. It is the order of the court. It doesn't matter what you think or what you believe. It takes 5 deputies to control him and put him in a police car.
After Joel Leininger was detained, we continued with the search of his residence.
If you have somebody that's cooperating with a search warrant, well, they don't have anything to hide, but generally folks that are worried are the ones that react negatively when law enforcement's present at their home.
Hey, detective, come check this out.
We searched and found an empty holster that had a magazine with it. That magazine contained .45 caliber ammunition consistent with the .45 caliber round that was removed from Clark Calhoun.
So what was in that holster is most likely the murder weapon. They ask the wife, Karen, whose bedroom is this, assuming she's going to say it's Jeremy's bedroom.
Whose room is this?
Joel's.
This is Joel's room.
Yeah. We don't sleep together.
That raises an eyebrow. So this is Joel's bedroom, and there's this empty holster. And now we have Joel outside the house going absolutely out of his mind that they're searching the place.
That kind of raises flags where now are we looking at Joel as the person that killed Clark?
It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to decide that there's something here. So they bring Joel in to the sheriff's department because he's in custody, and he has calmed down to some degree.
It's a complete waste of time. I don't even know why you have me down here.
Gladson explains that they have found Mr. Calhoun. He is a victim of a homicide.
Well, the problem is Clark Calhoun was shot with a .45.
Here we got a similar type holster inside his residence that he would have access to, no gun.
So how do you explain that, Joel?
I haven't seen that gun in months. I reported missing back in September.
We searched and found a record of Leininger reporting his .45 caliber handgun as missing in September of 2016.
When Joel was arrested, it was strictly for the obstruction of justice and resisting arrest. So we didn't have any factual information to be able to do anything in regards to detaining or charging Joel with any crime. All we had was what we called skinny evidence.
I'm loose.
Joel posted bail immediately for obstructing a law enforcement officer and resisting arrest, and then was released.
Joel now could be our primary suspect, but all we had was a lot of circumstantial evidence. So we still haven't identified who killed Clark. It could be anybody at this point.
In a murder case, you're investigating total darkness. You're punching in the dark. You want somebody to say, ouch. If somebody says, ouch, then you shine a light. So as you learn more about the dynamics and more about the personalities, then you go back and re-interview people from a different perspective. Elkins decides to re-interview Randy, the friend who was in the car when Clark and Inman and Randy were going to go shopping.
Hey, Randy. Hey, what can I do for you?
This time, Elkins is armed with more facts.
You happen to remember anything strange leading up to the days before Clark's disappearance?
Well, now that you mention it, yeah, the other night.
How about that?
Randy shared that before Clark went missing, he was with Jeremy and a friend of his identified as Tyler.
Randy goes on to report that Tyler was talking about burying dead cows on the property. Ranchers find a place where they can just dig a hole and drop the cow in.
Then, I don't know, Tyler kind of got a little weird. I remember Tyler saying,
You could probably bury a body out there too. Nobody would ever know.
Well, that's a pretty interesting conversation 2 days before Mr. Calhoun goes missing and winds up murdered. Now, he wasn't in a grave, but dead he was.
He actually said those words.
Yes, sir.
We're wondering now, maybe Tyler had some direct involvement in regards to the murder of Clark.
So Elkins has to talk to Tyler Frazier. What about this conversation you had at this party?
What I'm trying to do, Tyler, is find out exactly what happened to Clark Cohen.
We interviewed Tyler at his residence.
I don't know what happened to the dude.
But you work with him on the ranch.
Yeah, sometimes.
He indicated he did know Clark, that he was friends with Jeremy, and that he would occasionally work on the property in Rainier, but denied any involvement or any knowledge of what we were talking about.
Tyler says he was with his girlfriend and never left his place the day that Calhoun went missing.
You don't recall having a conversation with Jeremy about burying a body on the ranch?
What? That wasn't me.
He indicated that the conversations were between Randy and Jeremy.
You know, you'd probably bury a body out there, too. Nobody'd ever know.
You're crazy, man.
Man, I'm telling you.
Tyler says some map was brought out, and they were actually comparing locations on that property where something could be buried.
So Elkins, after talking to Frazier, realizes that Randy lied to him, directly and thoughtfully lied. That he was having that conversation about burying dead things and not Mr. Frazier.
So when someone does that, it makes you think as an investigator that they're trying to hide something.
In fact, lying is always a bad thing. Why would you lie to me? What else are you lying to me about? Elkins is preparing to summon Randy for another interview when Randy shows up in his office. When it comes to murder, best friends are meaningless.
I'm a little surprised you wanted to see me, Randy.
Yeah, well, I got something I gotta get off my chest.
Oh. Elkins likes it when somebody has to get something off their chest. I always did as well. Guilt is a terrible thing. For the police, an extremely useful thing.
I told you that Clark and Jeremy, they didn't have any problems with each other. Well, that wasn't entirely true.
Randy directly and specifically lied to Elkins because he was afraid he'd lose his job, he'd lose what little life he had if he ratted off the owner's son.
Randy shared with us that Jeremy flat out did not like, possibly hated Clark for many reasons. Jeremy pretty much felt that Clark was taking advantage of his uncle and that he was basically living on the property for free, not having to pay for anything.
Toss the smoke and help us out, okay? All right, do something.
Jeremy was convinced that Clark was a freeloader, lazy. Clark refused to work around the ranch, on and on and on.
Randy emphasized that this negative relationship between the both of them had been going on for quite a while.
And right before Clark went missing, Jeremy, he just going on and on about how Clark stole money from him.
He goes on to say that Jeremy was more than angry. Jeremy was wild about the missing money from his truck. Jeremy was convinced that Clark is the one who stole it.
Did he? I don't know.
We never did identify for sure if Clark stole any money from Jeremy.
Jeremy is convincing himself of all the reasons why Clark should not be permitted to live on this planet, most of which are invented.
I had a few questions to Jeremy.
Once Randy shared this with us, we tried to talk to Jeremy another time. He declined to provide any statements and requested a lawyer, so we couldn't ask him any more questions.
People run from the police. They climb. They're like animals. Where are you going? Stairway to Heaven is a song. There is no escape.
We had all circumstantial evidence. The problem is that may not be enough to establish probable cause to arrest and get a conviction. We needed something concrete. Shortly thereafter, Detective Gladson had phoned me and indicated that 2 people had come forth and had some information about the involvement of Jeremy.
The 2 people were tenants of Joe Leininger. They lived on the same property, and they were friends with Jeremy Leininger.
So what's going on with Jeremy?
We decided to split them up, and Detective Gladson interviewed the male witness, and I interviewed a female witness.
We had a party up at our house that Friday. I just knew I was like hearing stuff that I didn't want to hear or believe. Jeremy was crying, he was sulking.
Then Jeremy told me what he did.
Which is what?
He shot him.
A direct confession to murder. Secrets don't stay secrets. People suffer from diarrhea of the mouth. They always have, and they always will.
And it's getting you excited because now you got witnesses that Jeremy conversed with and told them that he killed Clark.
Is it enough to arrest him? Not really. But Elkins has another card up his sleeve. He gets a warrant for Jeremy's cell phone records.
Big Brother is real. Your phone is never off. And so if you keep your phone on you, we'll find you. It's that simple.
Elkins gets telephone records, and what does he discover? Jeremy's phone moves between all the points required, to include the ranch and the site where the body is dumped.
Also, we were able to ping the towers. And one of the things that the ping showed was that Jeremy stopped at a friend's house, and that friend was identified as John Perry.
He's at John's house for approximately 20 minutes before the 2 head back north to the Rainier property. I say both of them because their phone records mirrored each other.
Both phones are together and go exactly through the ranch, and then are found going out Rose Valley, which is out towards the river in Cowlitz County.
Yeah, they probably should leave their phone at home. Unfortunately, most criminals aren't very swift. So now we were looking at John Perry as the co-conspirator at minimum.
Elkins needs to put Jeremy over his head, and the way to do that is to talk to Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry is going to have some information that's going to crucify Jeremy. Elkins has the same group of players he's had from the beginning, but it's finally starting to straighten out. Jeremy Leininger is most likely the person responsible. He might have had a helper, and his name is John Perry.
John Perry was the last piece that we needed because, everything else was hearsay and circumstantial. And John Perry, he was there.
I located John at an apartment complex in Longview, Washington.
Mr. Perry, I'm here to speak with you about Jeremy Lininger and the murder of Clark Calhoun.
Yeah? Perry initially says, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about that.
All right. Just come out here. We're going to take you in for questioning.
He denied a lot of things, but we had enough to arrest him for that crime as being a co-conspirator of a homicide.
He was booked in the Thurston County Jail on $250,000 bail. He knew he was facing significant time.
All right, I am Detective Elkins, Thurston County Sheriff's Office. My understanding is you wanted to provide a statement regarding the incident where Clark Calhoun was murdered.
Yes. I know I don't want to be a part of this because I wasn't a part of this. I didn't have no choice in this. I'm not doing someone else's time.
Okay, makes sense.
And Mr. Perry says, let me tell you what I know. Please do.
And that was when the case blew open.
So let's start from the beginning. Okay, you ready to start?
Yes.
He had indicated exactly what his involvement was and what transpired. At some point in time, Jeremy was fed up. He was done with Clark.
Jeremy is the person with the smallest motive in the world. He doesn't like Clark. That turns into hating Clark. That turns into an overwhelming desire to kill him. So what does Jeremy do? He needs the means to get rid of Clark. Well, his dad's got the means, a .45 automatic. And eventually he gets enough nerve to use it.
Hey, Clark.
Yeah.
There's a hole in the fence over on the northeast side of the ranch. Think I get a little hand fixing it, please?
Sure thing, Jeremy.
Clark Calhoun walks into a death trap without knowing it.
Thanks for your help, Clark. Want to come smoke some weed with my buddy John and I real quick?
Yeah, I'm always down for that.
Hop in.
I was at my house, chilling in my bed. Jeremy, he sent me a text saying that he needs help with problems, someone stole money. I thought he's just gonna come pick me up and then we're gonna go beat someone's ass and get his money back.
What happened next?
Jumped into the back of his truck.
In the back bed of the truck? Or
No, like in the back seat.
was anybody else with him?
There was a dude in the passenger seat.
Okay, who was that?
That was Clark.
Clark who?
I don't know his name. I thought it was one of his buddies.
Okay, had you ever met this guy before?
I met him once when I was up at his family's property. We were having a family gathering.
Okay, was anybody else there?
No. It's just me, Jeremy, and Clark.
What was the interaction between Jeremy and Clark and yourself?
They didn't really talk at all. Like, he just seemed agitated.
Who did?
Jeremy.
In what way? What do you mean?
He wasn't really talking. He just seemed pissed off. We just kept on driving, and then he stops, and then he's like, everyone get out, and let's smoke a bowl of weed. We jump out, we go to the back of the truck, and then Jeremy told me to go back in the truck and grab the weed.
So, Clark, missing some money, you take it?
Not this again.
Then all of a sudden, I heard 4 gunshots. Boom, 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 boom.
And when he turned, Clark was on the ground and Jeremy was holding a gun.
Then I jumped back out. I was like, what the did you just do? And I looked down, and he's just lifeless. Nothing at all.
Okay, then what happened?
I looked at Jeremy. He had a crazy look on his face.
What did you do? Help me pick this guy up, will you? No, no.
I was like, I don't want no part of this. I'm not gonna pick up that body. So he grabbed the rope and tarp from the back of the truck, tied his legs, and he tied it to the back of his truck. And then he started driving through the woods.
So he drugged the body to an area of the farm where they had a backhoe that he was able to lift Clark's body in the bucket of the backhoe and then deposit him in the back of his truck.
They went southbound on I-5. They proceeded down to Cowweeman River.
He jumps in the back of the truck, pulls the dude by his legs, and then dude drops from the back of the truck to the ground, and he just rolled him to the side, and then he just hucks him off the side.
Jeremy believes no one will ever know what happened to Clark. Oh, I don't think so.
What happened to the gun?
I don't know about that.
Jeremy told people he melted the gun down. We never found the weapon.
No ballistics, none of that. But we have the statement of a helper. We have all the other circumstances that go with it.
All this information was more than enough to establish that probable cause, where the prosecutor agreed, yes, we now have probable cause to arrest Jeremy. He was arrested in Cowlitz County. He was transported to Thurston County, where he was booked in our jail, and at no time did he cooperate with law enforcement.
The result of that is that he is convicted of the crime of murder and received a sentence of 18 years in the Washington State Penitentiary for his crime. John Perry pleads guilty and is sentenced to 12 months in prison.
As far as a lot of the details in how my brother was murdered, I really tried to distance myself with a lot of that because at that point, there's nothing I can do to change what had happened. My brother's not coming back.
Nobody deserves to die that way. My dad, he was just kind and gentle and a teddy bear.
I know my dad's in heaven, and I know he's watching me and my kids. And I know he knows that I love him deeply. But I wish I would have had the opportunity to tell him that at one point in my life.
I do wish I could convey to my father where we are now as a family, that we're okay, that through this tragedy, we've been made stronger. I'm incredibly grateful for Detective Elkins and the personal attention that he gave to our family.
Nobody wants to have a family member murdered, but to have someone held accountable, it's nice because they're able to have closure. So it was rewarding for me as a detective because I truly believe Jeremy was evil.
Elkins stood in Calhoun's shoes because he couldn't anymore. He became his voice, like all homicide detectives all over this country every day. There was a poem written once about it. It says, "I have been where you fear to be. I have gone where you fear to go. I have seen things you don't wish to see. All these things I've done for you."
You hear the swamp breathe before you see the water. A humid hush, a wet lung exhaling, the kind of sound that makes ceiling fans turn slower and porch lights buzz with gnats. US 41 sliding east like a black river, palmetto and pine pressing close, a sky the color of bruised citrus. A coastal town that never chose a name loud enough to carry, a place you find by accident, or because your radiator died between Naples and Miami and the only open door was a bait shop that sold coax cable and boiled peanuts. The sign on the county line is sun-faded. The sheriff's star is the color of old brass. The calendar reads 1999 and the headlines write themselves. Missing girl, last seen at a roadside diner, raincoat red as a flare, storm coming off the Gulf. Cold case in the making, the kind you fold and shelve until the air changes and the past knocks with a wet knuckle. She's called Mara by everyone who matters. 17 going on 27, a laugh that cuts through live oak, a habit of tying her hair with a length of orange nylon twine she lifted from the marina. She pours coffee at the Pelican, a chrome-shouldered diner where fishermen count hours by refills and I-75 truckers trade weather warnings like baseball cards. She knows the names of the night shift regulars and the noises the ice machine makes when it wants attention. She keeps a stack of quarters in her apron because the payphone out back eats coins the way the Glades eat secrets. When the rain starts, hard and sudden, she clips her raincoat at the throat, pockets a tip she can't count yet, and walks into a parking lot that smells like wet rubber and rust. It's 12:33 a.m. by the clock near the pie case. The security camera is a stubborn toy that fizzles whenever lightning looks at it. The tape that should have caught her last steps runs gray, then black, then nothing but a ghost of static that looks like confetti. The cook says she waved, a small lift of the hand, like a shrug that learned manners. He says she turned toward the payphone, and he half heard a ring. He swears the ring sounded different, like a church bell underwater. A trucker at the counter says he saw a white sedan with a dent in the rear bumper idle near the dumpsters, windows fogged from breath. A woman in the corner booth says Mara took a cigarette from a man with a gator skin belt, then changed her mind and put it back. The stories collide, slide, and settle in the only shape small towns know, rumor framed as memory. By dawn, the raincoat is found draped over the payphone like a shed skin. In its pocket, a sugar packet and a receipt for a jar of nightcrawlers. On the coin return ledge, a Florida quarter turned tails up, sticky with orange soda. The sheriff is old Florida in a pressed uniform, hat brim stained, wedding band pale where the sun never hits. He lines a dry erase board with names, Mara in block letters, underlined. Around it, circles, diner, payphone, bait shop, canal. He marks the spot where a deputy found the raincoat with a triangle and the place a fisherman remembers seeing a girl in red under the bridge with a star. He pulls the security tape, feeds it to a VCR that coughs, and watches static gnaw the truth down to snow. Matt Tick be on, someone mutters at the counter while he makes coffee so strong it tastes like burned knots in an old dock. Mysterious disappearance. 2 words that make prayer sound like paperwork. They search the obvious first. The palmetto scrub behind the dumpsters, the drainage ditch that loves beer cans more than water, the mangroves that knot the canal into a Bible of roots. Volunteers walk shoulder to shoulder, wrists laced with mosquito welts, eyes beating the grass into confession. A man with a metal detector sweeps the shoulder of the road and finds only pull tabs and the bent ghost of a brooch. A deputy drags a magnet across the canal bottom and pulls up a chain, a wrench, a ring of keys that belonged to a lawn service that went broke in '94. The bait shop guy swears he saw Mara around 11 buying nightcrawlers for a kid with a striped shirt and a nervous blink. The kid says, no, it wasn't me. Must have been some other kid with a shirt and a blink. Storm sirens bark in the distance and the sky slides lower, heavy with Gulf water. Headlines come fast, picking their verbs like meat off bone, vanishes, shocks, rattles, baffles. Cold case? One paper asks, greedy for the word before the file is even folders thick. The diner becomes a shrine and a crime scene in the same hour. Someone sticks a missing poster with a school photo to the glass door with blue painter's tape. Someone else tucks a hibiscus under the bell. The bell rings every time a breeze wanders in and looks lost. Night brings the frogs, and the frogs bring the snakes, and the snakes bring the men with flashlights who claim they know the swamp like a zipper. Out on Alligator Alley, the headlights write a slow Morse code. Long, long, short, long, SOS in a language the water understands. The sheriff's patrol car creeps along the shoulder. He kills the engine at the mile marker where the cattail leans like a bad thought and listens. There's a sound the Glades make when something new is inside them. He knows it. It's like a second pulse under yours. He hears only rain slicing against his hood, the scrape of a heron's feet on a guardrail, a truck 2 miles off pushing water into a wall. He writes 12:33 on a damp notebook page and then crosses it out and writes 12:36 because the cook changed his story when the coffee was gone. A note appears on the diner counter at opening the next morning. It's written on a napkin, ballpoint bleeding. She walked home. Don't look. The cook says it wasn't there when he closed, and God, yes, he locked the door twice. The sheriff bags the napkin with 2 gloved hands and feels foolish, like he's lifting a leaf. He knows a taunt when he sees one. He knows an instruction when it pretends to be advice. He scrubs the counter, and his reflection looks older than yesterday. A boy with a bike finds a Polaroid stapled to the telephone pole by the canal. It shows a dock at night, boards slick, a rope looped like a question mark at the edge, a set of bare footprints leading left, just out of frame. In the corner, a finger intrudes, fat and blotted, the way all bad ghosts are. The sheriff pins the photo beside the missing poster and draws a circle around the rope with a red pen, like he can lasso it. Man moi ki la, says the cook, who likes words that make him feel like he's on television. Strange clue. The word clue is a blessing until it becomes a habit, then it's a hunger. They canvass the houses nearest the canal. On one porch, a woman with a towel around her hair says she heard a car door close. Not slam, just close with the same politeness as a man in a suit. On another, an old man says he saw taillights wash the cattails red for a second, like the devil blinking. A girl at the bus stop says she saw a white sedan with a dent in its rear bumper and a bumper sticker that read, "Jesus loves Snapper." She thought it was funny, and now she doesn't think anything is funny. The sheriff writes the words down. White sedan, dent, snapper. He feels like he's taking attendance for a class that won't admit it dropped out. The phone at the station rings. A woman in a voice that tries to be a whisper says the man with the gator belt comes in nights and orders coffee. He never drinks and watches the rain through the glass like it's a TV he paid for. The sheriff asks for a name. The woman says names are how people drown. He hears a second voice in the background say, "Hang up, Debbie." The line goes dead. He hates the word dead for how easily it sits inside sentences that are still alive. He drives 41 again and again until the mile markers turn into beads on a rosary. At mile 62, he finds a red thread snagged on barbed wire. At mile 62, he finds nothing. At mile 62, he finds the feeling you get when you've been somewhere too many times, and the place starts to show you a new face out of boredom. He bags the thread, and the lab says, "Synthetic, common, no, we can't tell you anything you want to hear." He tapes the lab note under the Polaroid and feels the wall take on weight. "There's a hurricane offshore that isn't coming here. It's always not coming here until here is the only place left." The bait shop boards its windows anyway. The diner stacks chairs on tables, and someone says a prayer over a pie. The sheriff tells himself storms are good for old cases because storms move things. They pull at roots and lift secrets from the bottoms where they were sure they could sleep. He drives to the canal mouth and watches the water level flirt with the red paint on the back of an airboat. He thinks of Mara's raincoat and the way it lay over the payphone like a letter that didn't want to be mailed. At 3:33 a.m., and he clocks it because times become superstitions when facts stop behaving, the sheriff gets his first reel almost. A deputy calls from the old bridge. There are skid marks on the shoulder where there weren't any yesterday. There's the impression of a bumper in the soft sand, a dent like a smile gone wrong. There's a sticker fragment stuck to a cattail. It says, "Jesus L." He touches it like it might bless him. He calls for a wrecker and a diver, and the diver shakes his head before he even gets wet because the water is black, like a lie told in a suit. The diver goes in anyway. He comes up with a grocery cart, a rusted tackle box, 3 lawn chairs, a plastic flamingo with one eye. On the 4th dive, he comes up with a license plate that belongs to a man who moved to Ocala in '93 and died in '97. The sheriff writes the number down and then crosses it out. He wonders if crossing things out is why the case feels thinner every hour, like he's erasing the page and only the ghost of ink remains. Mara's mother sits in the station lobby in a chair that has never been comfortable for anyone. She has a paper grocery bag on her lap with the raincoat in it because they gave it back to her last night, the lab done with its prodding. She takes it out and smooths it like it can be ironed free of the thing it did. She says, "You'll find her," and it sounds like she's practicing a line for a stage that keeps moving. The sheriff says, "We're trying," and it sounds like he's in a hallway where doors pretend to be walls. The first crank call arrives, and with it, the flavor of rot every investigation holds, no matter how clean you scrub your hands. A man says he's got her, says she likes the dark, says the water tells secrets if you ask in your sleep. He laughs in a way that is either a cough or a promise. The sheriff traces the call to a payphone at a Chevron and plays the security tape back and gets a man in a hat that could belong to anyone, and a truck that looks like every other truck in Florida, and a clock that got stuck on 111. He adds a square to the board and wonders if his board is a map or a maze. "Shocks community," the anchor says on Channel 6, a face powdered so precisely that rain couldn't find a place to hold. The B-roll is a shot of the diner sign and a slow pan of mangroves that look like hands braided together to keep something in or out. "Cold case," the anchor says, because the word brings eyes, and here we are, staring. The sheriff stares too and thinks of the way the raincoat felt wrong in his hands. Heavier than a coat, lighter than a body. Nights lengthen the way they do in heat, each minute stretching like a rubber band you know is going to snap. The station takes to leaving styrofoam cups half full of coffee on windowsills, a ward no one believes in but participates in anyway. A deputy writes 333 on a post-it and sticks it to his desk lamp because he doesn't like saying it out loud. Another deputy quits because his wife says she can't sleep in a house where the phone might ring with someone else's grief. The cook at the Pelican starts sliding a plate of hush puppies across the counter to anyone who looks like they could use forgiveness. Then the river gives up a dress, not Mara's. Wrong size, wrong color, Wrong everything except the way the fabric clings to hunger like a second skin. They photograph it anyway, and the newspaper runs the photo anyway, and a woman calls, claiming it's hers, and she threw it out the window in 1987 when she swore she was done with him, and then married him 3 years later. The sheriff files the dress under, "We asked, the river answered, the river lies sometimes too." There's an old park on the edge of town where a boardwalk runs out over water, so still it looks like a mirror that learned to keep secrets. A ranger calls the station at 6:02 a.m. because he opens at 6 and doesn't like what he found at 6:01. On the bench at the end of the walk sits a photo album, the kind with sticky pages and plastic overlays that hold life still. The top photo is the school picture from the missing poster, the one where Mara's smile looks like she believed in something we can't name. The second photo is the diner at night. The third is the payphone with the red raincoat draped like a flag. Beneath the plastic, tucked in the margin, a quarter turned tails up and a sugar packet split and bleeding a tiny line of sweetness across the page. The last sleeve holds a page with no photograph, only a date written in block letters, Aug 28, 1999, and the words "walked home" in ink so heavy it bruised the paper. The sheriff turns the album one page back and finds a Polaroid tucked between plastic and paper. It shows a road sign we all know by shape and none of us read until we need it. A green rectangle that says Everglades City and Miami. In front of the sign, the white sedan with the bumper dent, nose turned east. There's a bumper sticker. He can't read it. He brings the photo so close his nose fogs the plastic. His thumb leaves a print on the overlay that he will think about later at 3 a.m. when the frogs are louder than guilt. There is a moment in every unsolved thing when the air in a room changes. You feel it in your teeth first, a small ache like the weather is about to tell the truth. The sheriff feels it now, standing in the park with a photo album he didn't know he was waiting for. Water flat as a lie and a sky that can't tell if it wants to break open or swallow itself. The town breathes in. The town holds. The headlines sharpen their knives. The clock over the station door decides whether to keep the minutes or let them drop like quarters into a throat that never gets full. Cold case. Mysterious disappearance, shocked community, strange clue. The words line up on the county like sandbags against a flood. The sheriff turns the Polaroid over. On the back, in the same hand that wrote "Walked home, see you soon," and a time, 3:33. He doesn't have to like it to know what it is. An invitation, a dare, a rope tossed onto a river you can't see the bottom of. He pockets the photo and walks back along the boardwalk, each plank sounding like a countdown. In the parking lot, the air feels heavier and lighter and wrong. He looks up and the storm is decided. Not here, not yet, but close enough to taste. He starts the car and the radio goes white for a second, and in the white he thinks he hears a breath. Not his, a second pulse under his. The glades making room for something new. If you were writing headlines, you'd make it easy. You'd say, well, lead emerges, Florida 1999 cold case takes dark turn. If you were there, your palms would sweat and you'd check your watch and pretend you weren't. The sheriff does neither. He grips the wheel until he feels the bones. He reads the road. He listens to water like it's a witness who stutters but never lies. And when the sun drops and the frogs begin, he drives to the place where the sign points and the white sedan went, and the date on the page feels like a trap that was built with care and patience and a steady hand. He doesn't pray. He doesn't swear. He does the only thing anyone ever does when the glades whisper and the lights of the city hang to the east like a promise they don't intend to keep. He goes. The Everglades at night breathe different. The air hangs thick, buzzing with insects that never sleep, frogs that chant like a choir no one conducts. Cypress knees jut from black water like teeth, and the road cuts straight through it all, a strip of asphalt pretending to be safe. Patrol cars roll slow, headlights swallowed by fog, radios crackling with static that sounds like whispers. The sheriff drives it over and over, the white sedan burned into his mind, bumper dent shining like a scar. Somewhere out here, he thinks, is the trail that swallowed Mara whole. The bait shop closes early now. Customers stop buying worms when the swamp turned haunted. The owner swears he hears her name carried on the water, low, stretched, the way voices sound through cattails. He won't stay after dark. He points to the payphone near his door, the one Mara supposedly used that night. The receiver is cracked, duct-taped at the handle, cord twisted like something tried to strangle it, coins jammed in the slot. The sheriff lifts it, presses it to his ear. Silence. Then faint, so faint he thinks it's his pulse, breathing. He drops the receiver like it burned him. The deputy who sees it doesn't laugh. Nobody laughs anymore. The cook keeps telling the same story. She waved, she smiled, she looked like she knew the person waiting, but every retelling changes, just a hair. Sometimes she turned left, sometimes right, sometimes the car was closer, sometimes farther. He rubs his forehead, says maybe he dreamed it. But when asked about the raincoat on the payphone, he goes silent, jaw tight, eyes darting to the window like something waits there. The sheriff pins new maps to the board, circles the canal, circles the old bridge, circles the boardwalk where the album appeared. He uses red ink now, thick strokes that bleed through the paper. The deputies whisper about his eyes, red-rimmed, never resting. They whisper about the calls, because now they're coming steady, one a week, always at the same time. 3:33. The phone rings, and the voice rides the static, male, low, patient. Sometimes it laughs, sometimes it coughs. Sometimes it says nothing at all until the line dies. But always, always there's that second noise underneath, a door latch rattling, metal on metal, slow, deliberate, as if someone is testing locks across the county. Then the Polaroids start. First one found under a windshield wiper at the station. It shows the canal at night, moon bleeding silver over water, a shape at the edge blurred into almost human. On the bottom margin, ink gouges the words, "Walked home." The sheriff locks it in evidence, but the next night, another appears, this time taped to the diner door. Mara again, or someone who looks like her, captured mid-turn, hair bound with orange twine, eyes wide. The caption, "Too late." The town fractures. Some say she's alive, held somewhere, sending proof. Others insist the photos are staged, a sadist's theater. Mothers walk daughters home in pairs. Fathers carry rifles in truck racks again. The diner empties after sundown. The bait shop locks its doors before supper. Fear has a schedule now, and it keeps perfect time. The sheriff drives the canal banks at night, kills the engine, listens. The frog's quiet when he passes, like even they know. He shines his light and sees eyes. Gators, sure, but sometimes the eyes don't blink, don't sink, just hover above the water like they're watching. He aims his beam, and there's nothing, just ripples, just silence. The first body comes 2 months in, not Mara, another girl older found in a culvert north of town. No ID, a scarf knotted at her throat. Blue, not red, but tied the same way. Strangled. Dumped. The sheriff kneels in the mud, hand over his mouth. He knows the pattern now. Mara wasn't the only one. She was the beginning, or she was in the middle of something larger, something that ran along highways and bridges and rest stops like a vein. The FBI calls it a pattern. Serial. Cross-county. They draw charts, talk about offender profiles, talk about cycles and escalation. But the sheriff knows charts won't save them. The predator isn't in ink. He's in the silence between frogs, the breath on the payphone line, the flash of a Polaroid that blinds you just before the dark closes in. At the funeral for the Jane Doe, the town turns. Anger boils through grief. Voices spit words. Incompetent, cursed, useless. The sheriff stands stiff, hat brim low, badge heavy as an anchor. He doesn't answer. He can't. Because the predator has already stolen his voice, just like he stole Mara's. That night, another Polaroid waits on his kitchen table. No envelope, no tape on the door, just placed there, careful, deliberate. It shows him, asleep in his chair, lamp burning at his side. The caption bleeds in black ink, "See you soon." He grips the photo until it curls, breath shallow. Someone stood in his house, camera raised, inches away. He wonders if the breathing he heard on the payphone was the same he now feels behind him in the dark of his own home. And he knows, as surely as he knows the swamp never gives back what it swallows, that the case is no longer about Mara, it's about him. The hunter marked, the sheriff dragged into the game, the cold case warming to a fire that threatens to consume everyone left in this town that won't stop listening at 3:33. The sheriff doesn't tell the deputies about the Polaroid on his table. He locks it in his desk drawer, fingers trembling as if the photo itself breathes. But secrets in a small town rot faster than fruit, and before sunrise the whispers are everywhere. Someone was inside his house, someone took his picture, someone marked him. Eli had turned into rumor months ago, and now Florida followed the same script. Fear writes itself faster than truth. The phone rings again at 3:33. He answers on the first pulse, voice cracked, gun within reach. Static hisses, low, then the sound, latch rattling, metal on metal, slow, deliberate. Then the whisper, same voice, male, calm, cruel. "You're in my house now." The line dies. The sheriff slams the receiver down, but the silence afterward is heavier than the call. The diner stays dark. The cook leaves town, says he won't fry eggs for ghosts. The bait shop sells its last worms and boards up. Church pews groan under weight. People who never prayed before now bowing heads, muttering words that taste like desperation. Mat tik bian, mon moi kila, sok kong dong. Headlines bleed across the state, anchors savoring every phrase. Florida 1999 cold case. Predator plays with police. Community gripped by fear. Another Polaroid. Taped to the sheriff's cruiser windshield, it shows the bridge, the same one where skid marks appeared. This time a shadow leans against the railing, blurred, stretched, too tall. At the bottom margin, jump or she will. The sheriff's hands shake as he pins it to the board. Deputies stare, pale. One mutters a prayer, another takes his badge off and leaves it on the desk. Fear spreads faster inside the station than out. Law has become a suggestion, and the predator is the only one enforcing it. Days stretch thin. At night, headlights trace the highway like veins, but few cars travel now. Those who pass through don't stop. Motels empty. Neon flickers. The town is starving on silence. The sheriff drives alone, radio dead, gun on the seat beside him. Every mile marker looks like a gravestone. Then the tape arrives, left on the church altar, found by the pastor at dawn. The sheriff feeds it into the player, static, counting, 1, 2, 3. Then the latch. At 3:33, the voice speaks. Closer! Then a breath, then a girl's sob. Please! The sound splits the room. Deputies freeze, blood gone cold. Some swear it's Mara's voice. Others say it's fabricated. The sheriff doesn't care. He knows the plea is meant for him. He can't eat. He can't sleep. His reflection in the mirror is hollow, eyes like burned-out bulbs. Every time he shuts his eyes, he sees the Polaroid of himself in his chair, sleeping, while the predator stood close enough to touch. He imagines the shutters click, imagines breath on his skin. He knows now. He's not the hunter. He's prey. 3 days later, another body. A fisherman finds her snagged in reeds along the canal. Older, 20s. Strangled, a scarf knotted at the throat. The knot matches every Polaroid. Not Mara, not her. But the echo of her case carved into another body. The predator is expanding, or mocking, or both. The FBI storms in. Charts, cycles, escalation. They say he's a serial. They say the sheriff is in the middle of his theater. They want him off the case. He refuses. His badge may be tarnished, his town broken, but Mara is still out there, or her ghost is, and he owes her either way. That night, another Polaroid, left on the floor of the station itself, dropped inside locked doors. It shows the evidence board. Every Polaroid, every map, every pinned thread, taken from inside the office seconds before. On the bottom margin, nice work, 3:33. The sheriff rips it down, crushes it in his fist. Deputies back away. Some won't return. He stands in the empty station, surrounded by silence, feeling the weight of eyes that never blink. And then the phone rings again. He answers, static, breathing. The voice, you know where the last door is. The line clicks dead. The sheriff grips the receiver until the cord stretches, breath tearing his throat. He knows what the voice means, knows what door, knows the only way to end this is to walk through it. The swamp is waiting, the predator is waiting, and somewhere, maybe, Mara is waiting too. The sheriff drives with no destination, only instinct. The swamp leans closer as if listening, palmettos bending over the road like spectators at a funeral. The Polaroids, the tapes, the phone calls, they all point the same way. Toward water, toward the door the voice promised. He rolls past mile markers, each one a tick in the countdown. His headlights cut the fog, 2 weak swords against an army of dark. He pulls over where the asphalt buckles, where cattails crowd close and frogs go silent, kills the engine, the air presses heavy. He steps out, gun on his hip, flashlight trembling. The swamp breathes around him, insects pausing as if waiting for something larger to speak. And then he hears it, the sound that has haunted every tape, every call, metal on metal, a latch rattling, slow, patient, deliberate. The beam catches it. An old shack half buried in brush, paint peeling green, boards warped by storms. A door leans crooked on rusted hinges. He moves closer, each step sinking into mud that clings like hands. The latch rattles again, not by wind, by intention. His finger tightens on the trigger. The door creaks open an inch. Darkness inside, thick and wet. He steps in. The air stinks of mildew and rust. The flashlight sweeps. 4 walls, no windows, bare floor. In the center, a chair. Bolted down, rope knotted around its legs, a red scarf tied tight across the backrest. Empty, waiting. On the seat, a Polaroid camera. Beside it, a cassette recorder. A photo half-developed sits in the slot, colors bleeding into shape. He lifts it with gloved fingers, heart hammering. It's him. Standing in the doorway, flashlight raised, caught in the moment he just lived. Caption scrawled thick, "Welcome, Sheriff, 3:33. The recorder clicks alive. No button pressed. Static fills the room. Then the voice, calm, confident. You found the door. Pause, then softer. She sat there once. A rattle of rope. A muffled cry, a girl's voice, Mara's, or close enough to freeze blood. Don't let him. Then silence. He spins, beam slicing corners. Empty. Only wood and rot. He shouts into the dark, voice cracking. Where is she? Only the swamp answers, a slow drip through boards. When he steps back outside, dawn stains the horizon. On his cruiser windshield, another Polaroid waits. He rips it free. The photo shows him inside the shack, staring at the empty chair. Taken seconds ago. Caption, too late, again. His knees weaken. He sinks against the car, fists clenching. He was inside the trap the whole time. The predator stood close enough to photograph him, and he never knew. Back in town, the story spreads like fire. The shack, the chair, the scarf. Deputies whisper ritual. Residents whisper curse. Headlines shout, Florida 1999 cold case deepens. Sheriff lured into trap. Families pack cars. Neighbors stop answering doors. Fear chokes the streets. The sheriff pins the new Polaroid to his board, but his hand shakes so bad the tack bends. He knows now. This isn't a hunt. It's a performance. He's the actor, the predator, the director, the town, the audience, Mara, the script. That night at 3:33 sharp, the station phones erupt again. Every line, every desk, bells screaming in unison. He answers, voice raw. Static, then breathing, then the laugh, jagged, cruel, and the words, next time, sheriff, sit. The line dies. And the sheriff knows the chair in the shack isn't just for memory. It's waiting. For him. The sheriff doesn't tell the press about the chair, doesn't tell the deputies about the scarf. But the story leaks anyway, dripping out of the swamp like oil. By morning, it's everywhere. Radio hosts spitting words like ritual, sacrifice, serial. Headlines scream, Florida, 1999 cold case turned sinister, sheriff taunted. The town absorbs it like a sponge soaked in gasoline. Fear soaks the walls. Rage waits for a spark. He drives with the windows down, hoping swamp air might wash the stench of failure off him. It doesn't. The cicadas scream too loud, their rhythm like static, like a cassette tape chewing itself. Every noise reminds him of the shack. Every silence feels like a Polaroid waiting to snap. At 3:33 sharp, the call comes. His hand already grips the receiver, sweat slick, static first, then the latch, louder this time, metal grinding, deliberate. Then the voice. She begged. You didn't come. The laugh follows, jagged, long. The line goes dead. He throws the phone across the room. It shatters against the wall. Deputies stare. Nobody speaks. Another Polaroid arrives that night, pinned to the diner door. It shows the shack from outside, windowless, rotting, but this time the chair is occupied, a figure blurred, head bowed, scarf at the throat. At the bottom margin, you should have sat, 3:33. The town erupts. Some swear it's Mara, some swear it's staged. Either way, the photo spreads faster than truth. People shout in the streets, mothers sob, fathers grip shotguns they haven't touched since Vietnam. Rumor mutates into fury. They say the sheriff is cursed. They say the sheriff invited the devil. They say he's the reason she's gone. The FBI steps in again, papers thick with profiles, charts, and words like copycat, escalation, sadist. They want him off the case. He refuses. They call him reckless, compromised, unstable. They don't know how right they are. That night, he can't sit still. He drives, past the canal, past the boarded bait shop, past the park where the album appeared. The swamp presses in, breathing heavy, as if it knows. At mile marker 62, he stops. Mud still shows tire ruts from weeks ago. The dented bumper print still scars the sand. He kneels, fingers pressed to earth, whispering Mara's name like it might rise from soil. Behind him, a sound, a shutter click. He spins, gun raised, flashlight slicing. Nothing, just fog curling low, cattails bending. He checks the cruiser, another Polaroid under the wiper. His blood turns to ice. It shows him, kneeling at the mud, head bowed, taken seconds ago. Caption, good boy, 3:33. He rips it in half, but the pieces cut his palm. He bleeds. The photo doesn't. Back at the station, he lines the wall with every Polaroid. They cover maps, cover memos, cover his own sanity. A gallery of torment. His reflection stares back from glossy paper. Him at the shack, him at the mud, him asleep in his chair. Always him. The predator has rewritten the case. Mara is no longer the center. The sheriff is. The deputies quit, one by one. Some leave badges on desks. Some don't say goodbye. The station empties. Phones ring, unanswered. At night, the only sound is the tick of the clock crawling toward 3:33. On the 15th night, he finds another package at his doorstep, a shoebox, inside, rope, frayed, damp with mildew, and a note, block letters pressed hard into paper, sit or she dies. His hands shake so hard the box falls, rope coiling across his floor like a snake. He kicks it into the corner, but it waits. At 3:33, the phone rings again. He doesn't answer. It rings 21 times. Stops. Then from the street, a camera flash. Bright. Blinding. He sprints outside, gun raised, but the road is empty. No footsteps. No engine. Just another Polaroid on his porch. It shows him standing in the doorway, gun in hand, face twisted, caption, we see you. 3:33. The sheriff drops to his knees, Polaroid shaking in his grip. He knows now. There's no distance, no safety. The predator isn't lurking in the swamp. The predator is already inside the town, inside his life, inside his head. And he knows the next Polaroid won't just show him, it will demand more. The sheriff no longer counts days, he counts nights. Each one stretches like barbed wire, each one ending the same. A clock ticking toward 3:33, a phone screaming, a photograph waiting. Sleep has abandoned him. When he closes his eyes, the shutter clicks. When he breathes, he hears the latch. The town is hollow now. Families gone, houses dark, businesses shuttered. The diner's neon sign flickers once and dies. The bait shop boards rot. The church bell tolls for no one. Only the sheriff remains, circling empty streets, headlights sweeping ghosts. Fear drove everyone out, but fear keeps him in. He can't leave. The case has welded him to this place, body and soul. At 3:33 sharp, the phone rings again. He answers on instinct, gun on the table. Static hisses, then the voice, calm, patient. You never sat. A pause, then sharper. You will. The laugh follows, jagged, cruel, the sound of metal scraping bone. He slams the receiver down, but the echo sticks in the walls. Morning brings another box, left on his porch. Inside, a Polaroid camera. Fresh film loaded. On top, a note scrawled in thick black ink, your turn. 3:33. His stomach knots. He hurls the box against the wall. The camera clatters, but it doesn't break. When he looks again, a photo has already ejected, lying face down on the floor. He picks it up with shaking fingers. The image shows his kitchen, empty, but in the corner, faint, blurred, a shadow, too thin, too tall, watching, caption, behind you. He spins, weapon raised. Nothing, just silence and dust. He tears the photo in half, but the pieces curl in his palm like they want to stitch themselves back together. That night, he doesn't wait for the call. He drives straight to the shack. The swamp swallows his cruiser, headlights bouncing off waterlogged earth. The door stands open, latch rattling in the windless dark. Inside, the chair waits, rope coiled, scarf knotted. On the seat, a fresh Polaroid. Mara this time, clear, eyes wide, gag tight, head tilted. Caption, she sat. Why won't you? His breath tears his chest. He grips the photo until sweat blurs the ink. She's alive, he tells himself. She has to be. Every Polaroid proves it. Or every Polaroid lies. He can't tell anymore. Back at the station, the wall of photos grows. Him asleep, him kneeling at the mud, him standing at the shack door. Now Mara, alive in glossy freeze frame. He pins them until the corkboard disappears. The room becomes a mirror of torment. Every time he looks up, he sees himself watched, trapped, staged. The deputies are gone. The FBI left, the town abandoned. Only him, only the predator, only the clock. At 3:33, the phone rings again. He doesn't answer. It rings, stops. He waits, gun on the table, eyes on the clock. Then, camera flash through the window, bright, white. He lunges outside, gun raised, empty street, empty air. Only another Polaroid tucked under his wiper. It shows him sitting at his desk, gun on the table, clock on the wall, taken seconds ago. Caption, almost ready, 3:33. His knees buckle. He sinks against the cruiser, photo trembling. He knows now the game is ending. The predator is circling tighter. The chair isn't just a threat, it's a promise. And the sheriff can feel it, heavy as the swamp air. The next move won't be a photograph, it will be blood. The sheriff doesn't wait for dawn anymore. He sits through the night, pistol on the desk, Polaroids spread like tarot cards. The clock ticks toward 3:33 and his chest tightens with every second. He tells himself he won't answer this time. He tells himself he'll break the rhythm. But when the phone screams, his hand moves before his mind does. Static, breathing. The latch rattles. Then the voice, calm, low, deliberate. You're almost there. The line dies. The silence afterward is worse than the call. He drives, headlights slicing the swamp, tires biting wet asphalt. The shack looms again, a skeleton in the cattails. Door ajar, latch waiting. Inside, the chair, rope ready, scarf hanging like a threat. On the seat, another Polaroid. He lifts it with hands that shake. This one shows him, not Mara, not a shadow, him, sitting in the chair, head bowed, wrist bound, caption, soon. He stumbles back, breath ragged, weapon raised at empty corners. The shack doesn't answer, the swamp doesn't move. But the photo burns his eyes. Someone has already seen the ending. Someone has already written it. Back at the station, he pins the Polaroid to the board. His own face stares back. He tears it down, pins it again, tears it down, pins it again, until the tack bends. His reflection multiplies in glossy surfaces. Him at the shack, him in the mud, him in his chair. Always him. The predator has turned the case inside out. Mara isn't the center anymore. He is. The town is gone. Houses hollow, stores boarded, streets quiet. Only the swamp remains, whispering at night, carrying laughter across water. He patrols alone, siren off, windows cracked. Every mile marker feels like a countdown. At 3:33, he kills the engine, waits, and hears it, behind him. A shudder, quick, sharp. He spins. Empty road, empty dark. But another Polaroid waits on his seat, fresh, glossy. It shows him standing in the road, gun raised, looking over his shoulder, caption, closer. His skin crawls, his pulse hammers. Whoever stalks him isn't miles away. They're within feet, breathing the same air, watching every move. That night, the phone doesn't ring. The silence is heavier, worse. He sits rigid in his chair, pistol sweating in his palm. At 3:33, a knock, 3 times, soft, at the station door. He rises slow, every nerve screaming. He pulls it open, weapon raised. Nothing, just night, just swamp air, thick and wet. He looks down. A package rests on the threshold. Inside, rope, damp, frayed, a cassette, and a Polaroid. The photo shows the sheriff in his chair, the same chair from the shack, head bowed, wrists bound, the caption, tomorrow. The tape whirs alive when he feeds it to the machine. The latch rattles, louder, faster, relentless. Then Mara's voice, soft, cracked, please. Then silence. Then the man's voice, low and calm. Your turn. The sheriff smashes the player, shatters plastic and tape, but the words cling. Your turn. He doesn't sleep. He knows the chair is waiting. He knows the predator is circling tighter, and he knows when the next night comes, the choice will no longer be his. At 3:33, the clock will stop, and he will sit. The sheriff spends the day pacing empty streets, boots scraping asphalt, sun hammering his back. Eli's bones are showing now, windows busted, doors swinging, trash drifting across lots where kids once played. He tells himself he's patrolling, but there's no one left to guard. The only heartbeat left in town is his own, and even that doesn't sound steady anymore. At dusk, he drives to the shack. He swears he won't go inside, swears he'll torch it instead, but when the door creaks and the latch rattles, he feels pulled. The chair sits where it always has, rope coiled, scarf hanging limp. On the seat, a new Polaroid. He picks it up with shaking hands. It shows Mara, alive maybe, eyes wide, gag pulled tight, hair bound with orange twine. Behind her, blurred, unmistakable. The sheriff's office wall, lined with the Polaroids. The caption bleeds across the margin. She's waiting in your house. 3:33. His chest seizes. He bolts back to town, siren wailing, though no one's there to hear it. The station looms empty, door unlocked. Inside, silence thick enough to choke. The board of Polaroids is gone, every tack ripped out, corkboard bare. On his desk sits the shoebox from before, lid propped open. Inside, the photographs, all of them, reorganized, layered in sequence like chapters. At the very top, one he's never seen. It shows him, standing in the doorway of his own office, gun drawn, staring at the shoebox. Caption, now you understand. His knees weaken. He grips the desk to keep from falling. The predator is not just watching. The predator is writing the script as it unfolds, one shutter at a time. And he's been playing his role exactly. At 3:33, the phones erupt. Every line, every desk. Bells shrieking until the station trembles. He snatches one. Static floods his ear. Then Mara's voice, faint, breaking. Please don't let him. The line cuts. The silence that follows feels like a grave filling in. Then the flash, through the window. Bright, white, blinding. He stumbles outside, gun raised, flashlight slicing air. The street is empty, only a Polaroid taped to the cruiser's hood. It shows him at the desk, phone to his ear, eyes wide, taken seconds ago. Caption, almost. He rips it free, breath ragged, hands trembling. He screams into the night, voice raw, begging the swamp to answer, begging the predator to show himself. Only the frogs reply, their rhythm now sounding like laughter. He drives until sunrise, road unraveling under him. Mile markers blur, signs tilt in weeds. At a turnout, he finds another package waiting on the hood when he stops for gas. Another Polaroid inside. This one shows the shack, the chair, rope tied, scarf ready. Caption, tomorrow you sit, 3:33. His pulse staggers. His throat burns. He knows the game has reached its edge. He knows the predator won't ask again. And deep down he feels it. The chair is not just waiting for him. It has been waiting because of him. Every photo, every tape, every call was only leading here. The sheriff grips the photo until it curls. Dawn cuts the swamp in bruised orange. He whispers to himself, voice breaking, maybe if I sit, it ends. But another voice in his head hisses louder, or maybe if you sit, you vanish just like her. The clock is ticking, the swamp is listening. And tomorrow night, when 3:33 arrives, the door will open whether he touches it or not. The day gnaws itself down to a nub. Heat wobbles over asphalt, vultures pinwheel slow above power lines. The town holds its breath like a swimmer who's gone too deep. He walks empty blocks that used to have names, badge heavy, shirt sticking to his back, and tells himself he's patrolling. He isn't. He's circling the inevitable. The Polaroid in his pocket curls against his palm. Tomorrow, you sit. 3:33. He prepares like a man going to war with a mirror. Duct tape. A folding knife he tapes under his sleeve. A body mic wired to a tape deck that may or may not outlast the humidity. Fresh batteries, 2 spare flashlights. He checks the station doors, checks the windows, checks the evidence room, even though it's already been emptied of everything that mattered. The clock above the desk clicks toward the hour with the same patience the swamp has shown him since day one. At sundown, a final package waits on the front step. No note. Inside, a red scarf. Fresh, not mildewed, knotted in the same cruel loop. And a Polaroid of the chair, empty. A faint handprint on the backrest like heat left on glass. Caption in gouged black ink. Be on time. Headlines keep screaming even if no one's left to hear them. Cold case countdown. Matt Tick be un. Sheriff to sit. Shock to community. The words feel like gnats, constant, brain deep. He pockets the scarf. He doesn't know why. Maybe talisman. Maybe target. Night drops hard. The swamp exhales. He kills the station lights and the darkness comes in like water through a broken door. 3:12. He drives. Windows cracked. The road unspools. Black ribbon. Mile markers blinking like a pacer's beeps. The shack finds him before he finds it. Door gray in his high beams. Latch answering the headlights with a tiny metallic shiver. He parks 50 feet out. Kills the engine. The silence has weight. Frogs hush. The air presses his shirt to his spine. He can hear his own pulse in his ears. 3:29. He clicks the body mic on, breathes into it once. "This is me," he says, voice rough, and it sounds like a confession. Inside, the room hasn't changed. 4 walls, no windows, wet wood, mildew, rope, chair, the smell of rust and old sweat, except one thing. On the floor, at the chair's feet, a fresh cassette recorder waits with its red light blinking, already rolling. He wants to kick it into the corner. He doesn't. Let it record. Let something besides the swamp remember. He tests the rope. Coarse. Damp. He threads it once around one wrist, loose enough to haul free if he needs to, practices the motion that will slip the loop. He palms the sleeve knife, feels the tape tug against his skin. He sits. The chair sighs under him like a living thing that's tired of being furniture. He pulls the scarf across his lap and lays his hands on the armrest. 3:32, he swallows. His throat feels like glass. "Come on," he whispers, not sure who he's talking to. Mara, the predator, the swamp, himself. The latch rattles, not the doors, the recorders, the sound from every tape now in the meat world with him. Metal on metal, patient, deliberate, 3 long shakes like the start of a bad prayer. The room chills, sweat prickles behind his knees. His fingers find the rope again, feed the loop, cinch just enough to look right. He breathes shallow. He keeps the knife edge pressing his forearm so he knows where it is when the lights go. 3:33. The door sighs on its hinges. A breeze that doesn't belong here moves across his face. He tastes wet oak and old nickel. Flash. White. A Polaroid pop like a tiny thunderclap. His vision burns. He blinks hard and the afterimage writes its own headline inside his skull. Sheriff sits. Another flash. Closer. The camera chirp loud enough to be swallowed by the tape hiss. He keeps his head tilted down, lets the photo have the posture the last Polaroid promised. Bowed, wrist down, compliant. Let him think it's going to script. Footsteps. Not heavy. Patient. The kind of steps a man takes when he thinks his dance partner already knows the steps. He can feel breath now, human, damp. A hand ghosts the crown of his hat, and he has to lock his jaw to keep from snapping at it like a dog. The hand moves to the backrest, rests there, slow press. The chairwood groans. The touch lingers. Ownership, not comfort. The cassette across the room ticks and hums, red light steady. The body mic kisses his collarbone with its own tiny heartbeat. If anyone ever listens to this, they'll hear the exact pitch fear makes when it turns into resolve. A voice at his ear, lower than on the phone, unfiltered by static, calm, like the man's reading a recipe. "You took your time." He doesn't answer. Protocol says stall. Instinct says strike. The knife handle prints a cold oval into his skin. He can't feel his fingers. He waits for the third flash. These men love threes. Flash. He moves. Shoulder up, wrist twist, rope off, blade out, slash. His elbow and the knife meet the breath in front of him, and for a second, there's mass. There's resistance. There's the human reality of it. A sound. The wrong sound for a monster, the right sound for a man. Air punched out of a chest. He lunges to his feet, chair legs screeching the floor raw, light swinging, gun up now, knife down, body turned, flashlight carving arcs. The room is empty. Not empty, still moving. A shadow cuts the doorway, thin, tall, almost a trick of beam and plank. He charges it and collides with nothing. The swamp's night opens its mouth and gulps the figure whole. Footfalls vanish into needled water and cypress roots. He barrels out the door, sidearm spotlighting cattails and fog, breath like filed steel in his throat. "Stop!" he barks at blackness. The blackness doesn't. Behind him, the Polaroid camera spits one more photo onto the chair like a card from a cursed deck. He backs in slow, eyes on the doorway, snatches the fresh picture with 2 fingers. It develops as he watches. His silhouette mid-lunge, blade silver, the chair skewed, rope fallen like shed skin. Caption already there. Black gouge he did not see a hand make. Faster. The cassette clicks, changes tone, a new track, and then Mara, not sobbing, hushed, so close like she's speaking from the wood grain. "Don't follow the water," she says. 4 words, a map without roads. The tape hisses like a whisper applauding the line. His chest caves and hardens in the same second. He sweeps every seam of the shack, nails, knotholes, a slot under the chair where something might have been fed through. He sees tiny squares of tape residue on the floor, X marks that once fixed a second mic or another camera. In the corner, on a shelf he hadn't noticed in the stink, a Bible warped from damp. He fingers it open, verses circled, numbers underlined, a ripped page tucked like a flag. On it, in the same gouge black, 3:33 is when I watch, 3:34 is when I decide. He checks the recorder time counter. 3:35, the choice already made. By him or by the man who left this and ran. He doesn't know which choice or whose. He only knows the next movement will be worse. He steps into the night, air like lungfuls of wet cloth. He sweeps the tree line again. Nothing. The road glows 30 yards down like a snake's back. He stands in the doorway that used to be a door and hears for the first time all night the frogs start up again. The swamp resumes its hymn. The performance break is over. Back at the station, the clock above his desk says 4:12. The phones are dead for once. The shoebox still waits open, the photos arranged in their cruel chronology. He slides the new Polaroid on top, himself, mid-strike, the story eating its own tail. He rewinds the body mic tape with a thumb and hears everything again in smaller, meaner fidelity. Latch, breath, flash, the human sound of impact, his own voice barking into dark, the last warning, don't follow the water. He draws a new circle on the map, not around the shack, not around the canal, around the one place he's refused to touch since the beginning, the strip of dry road that runs east toward the city where news crews live. Because water is what he's chased since day one. And if she's right, water is the wrong god. There's a smear of something on his sleeve, not swamp, not rust, blood. He stares at it until it stops being a color and becomes a promise. He got him. Not by much, not enough, but enough for a drop, enough to test, enough to turn a story into a case again. The sun pries open the horizon with a dirty fingernail. He sits, knife on the desk, Polaroids fanned, scarf coiled in his palm like a question that learned to tie itself. Headlines write themselves in his head, and he ignores them. Cold case, Matt Tick Beyond, Sok Kong Dung, words that fed the predator. He needs different words now. Chain of custody, partial DNA, trace, fiber, dry land. The phone stays quiet. The clock forgets 3:33 and swings for an hour like a clock should. He can feel the next move coming anyway, the way you feel a storm that isn't on the radar yet. The chair is still in his muscles. The flash is still behind his eyes. But Mara's sentence is louder than the laugh for the first time since this started. Don't follow the water. So he won't, and when the next Polaroid drops, and it will, he'll be standing somewhere the swamp can't swallow him whole. Somewhere a man who bleeds can be seen bleeding. Somewhere with pavement and witnesses and a camera he controls. He holsters the pistol, he pockets the knife, he leaves the scarf on the desk, and he walks out into a morning that doesn't feel like mercy so much as a chance to make new rules before night remembers its lines. Dry ground, that's the new commandment. Asphalt, concrete, catwalks, corrugated steel, anywhere water can't swallow a footprint. He redraws the map with a carpenter's pencil, heavy strokes that grip the paper. Rest areas on I-75, truck stops where diesel hangs in the air like old thunder, self-storage rows that keep secrets for cash, billboard ladders that no one looks at unless the picture changes. He circles intersections where the swamp grudgingly yields to parking lots and light poles, places with cameras that don't drown when the sky opens. The blood on his sleeve comes back as a partial, male. Not in any database they can touch. Not yet. But it's blood, and blood is a sentence that keeps speaking even after a mouth closes. He folds the lab printout into his pocket like a talisman and tells the empty station what it means. The story isn't a ghost story. It's a man who bleeds. He starts with the storage yards, dry as sermons, endless corrals of roll-up doors painted the color of aspirin. He signs a warrant for a unit rented in cash by a name that belongs to no one. Inside, sawhorses, a folding chair with scrape scars on the cement, a ring of adhesive dark on the floor where a recorder might sit, a cardboard box that smells like instant chemistry. He opens it, packets of developer, fixer, a stack of Polaroid film cooling in a cheap picnic cooler, a workbench stained with something that looks like coffee until you notice the edge where it dried the color of rust. No hair, no prints. But on the pegboard above the bench, push pins make a constellation. 3, 3, 3, spaced like a drummer with one beat to live by. In the fluorescent flicker, he hears her again, not from tape this time, but from the habit the swamp drilled into his skull. Don't follow the water. He tracks power outlets instead. Where would a man plug in his silence? The billboard company says a maintenance hatch on the east overpass has been jimmied twice this month. He climbs at dusk, a ladder that groans like a guilty ribcage, palms skinned by cross-hatched metal. On the catwalk, he finds fresh shoe scuffs and a coil of cheap wire. A dead lizard lies near the ballast, mouth open like it tried to warn someone and ran out of words. By 9 p.m., he's at the big truck stop where the coffee tastes like coins and the showers never stop whispering. Dry floor, bright light, 100 wheels, still ticking heat. Cameras stare from corners, bored. He drinks black coffee until the styrofoam cup bends in his grip. He watches hands, hands that fidget, hands that hide, hands that carry pelican cases big enough for a life. He studies wrists for rope burn and knuckles for scabs from chair legs. No one looks back at him long. He's learned to carry his badge inside now, not because he's ashamed, but because it scares away the men who need to know they can stare without being seen. 3:17. The countdown tightens his throat. He picks a place that isn't swamp and isn't sanctuary, the eastbound rest area, dry ground squared by curbs, sodium lamps buzzing, vending machines glassy as fish tanks. He parks where the security camera can see his windshield. He sets the body mic humming. He keeps the pistol under his thigh and the sleeve knife warm against skin. He sets a decoy on the passenger seat, his hat on a rolled jacket, the silhouette of a man who nods off and can't help it. He kills the dome light. He becomes a shadow that breathes. At 3:31, a refrigerated rig coughs awake and pulls into the merge like a white glacier on asphalt. A minivan pops its hazards, and a woman runs a child to the bathroom. On the far curb, a sedan sits dark, its windshield swallowing the lamps without blinking. No dent on the bumper, no sticker about Jesus or Snapper. The rules changed. Predators evolve. 3:33 lands like a blow you saw coming and couldn't dodge. His phone doesn't ring. The old payphone by the picnic tables does. It hasn't rung in a year. It howls like a bird trapped in steel. The child in the bathroom wails at the sound. The woman scoops him up and forgets her soda on the hood. The call keeps ululating, a siren boiled down to one bright strand. The sheriff moves without moving, door cracked, pistol tight, eyes never leaving the dark sedan. He waits for the old rhythm, latch, laugh. Instead, he gets light. A white burst from the billboard catwalk above the rest area, Polaroid flash. His stomach drops. He looks up into a glare that erases faces and leaves only outline. A thin figure at the rail, camera lifting, lowering, lifting again. The dry land isn't cleaner, it's just higher. He's moving before fear catches up. Up the maintenance ladder, boots ringing each rung like a countdown. He feels eyes on his back from 100 angles. Truck mirror, bathroom door, the dark sedan that never coughed. He crests the platform and the night drops away under him like a forgotten promise. The catwalk is a throat. The figure is already 3 panels down, walking like a man who learned balance from watching tide lines. Flash. Another little thunderclap. The sheriff drops flat. The flash burns the air where his head was. He belly crawls, pistol forward, shoulders scraping galvanized grit. Police, he says, and the word doesn't sound like it belongs to him anymore. The figure glances back, just enough tilt to carve a profile into sodium. A jaw too narrow, a cap pulled low, glasses with no reflection. Then shadow again. The man ditches the camera mid-stride. It claps the grate and skitters into a weld notch, still attached to a taut length of monofilament line. A reel clicks by the rail. The camera jerks out of reach like a fish you never hooked. He surges. The catwalk quakes. The figure hits the access hatch with one palm, slips through into the billboard hollow, vanishes between vinyl and steel. The sheriff rips the hatch and follows. Inside, a hot lung that stinks of ink and adhesive. He catches a shoulder's worth of silhouette squeezing between truss and skin, fingers trailing like a signature. He lunges, snags cloth. It tears. His hand closes on nothing. A trapdoor on the far side coughs, and the night inhales him again. Gone. He doesn't shoot. Dry land means witnesses. He cuts back to the rail, rips the reel from its bracket, mounts the catwalk edge, and heaves. The monofilament sings as the camera zips back over the void and into his hand, warm from the flash. He cracks it like a coconut and shakes out the last square. It's still developing. He watches his own face swim up out of milk, hatless, ragged, pupils open, a man in a place no sermon warned about. The caption has already been carved into the emulsion by a needle. Higher, 333. Down below, the rest area looks staged. The dark sedan has rolled one slot closer. The woman with the kid is crying into a phone. The minivan's hazards keep time like a bad heart. He tucks the camera under his arm and drops rungs until his boots kiss concrete. He never takes his eyes off the sedan's windshield. It's an old habit. Glass tells truth. Tonight it shows him and nothing else. He approaches quarter on, pistol low. Evening, he says to emptiness. The driver's window purrs down 2 inches. No face, just a recorder's grill, black as a blind mouth. It hisses. The latch rattles, the same note as the shack, but here in dry air, metallic without echo. Then her voice, close, closer than any tape has earned. Don't follow the water, she says again, and adds a word that was never on any recording. Tonight. He doesn't think. He shoots the little speaker through the slit and the car flinches like an animal you woke wrong. The window dies on its tracks. He rips the handle. Unlocked. No driver, just clothes draped over foam, a hat pinned to the headrest with a needle, a pair of glasses taped to a coat hanger, a reel-to-reel voice peeled into this moment from somewhere else. The passenger footwell is a tangle of monofilament tied to a shutter trigger. He cuts it clean. The glove box yawns. Inside, an envelope stamped with a date that hasn't happened yet, and his name. Back at the cruiser, he tears it open with a grit-lined thumb. Polaroids. A deck of futures no decent fortune teller would touch. Him on the catwalk tonight. Him at the rest area last week. Him outside the storage unit yesterday. A final image half developed, colors still climbing the paper like a bruise. The chair in the shack, rope ready, scarf coiled, and a watcher's shadow thrown across the wood. His shadow, if you believe the angle. Caption gouged deep enough to score his palm when he touches it. Tomorrow we end it. 3:33. He breathes like a man surfaced. He doesn't feel triumphant. He feels scheduled. Dry land doesn't save anyone. It just changes the choreography. He scrubs the rest area footage before the ink dries on the incident report. In the back hall, he finds a panel with fresh scratches where a camera should have lived and doesn't. He checks the roof. Empty tripod feet stamped into tar. He checks the vending machines. Someone has replaced the exact change only label with a strip of masking tape that reads, "Watch me" in block letters. He pops the housing and a cassette tumbles out. He pockets it with the others. Everything the man touches becomes theater. Dawn, he files, he bag and tags. He writes recovered camera catwalk, east billboard, recovered portable playback rig from Sedan, recovered message envelope, future date, recovered glove box Polaroids, series unknown. He stops and stares at that last line. Unknown. It has always been the truest word in this room. The clock moves without him. 11:10, 11:40. Noon crashes through the blinds like water over a spillway. He tries to sleep on the station couch, but sleep won't take him. He pays in sweat and blinks instead. When he gives up and sits, the shoebox stares. He lays the new Polaroids in order and can't shake the nausea that comes from recognizing a sentence you haven't said yet. He plays the cassette from the vending machine. Static. Then a new flavor of quiet. Room quiet, not swamp quiet. An AC wheeze, a fluorescent hum, a chair's legs settling. Then his own voice, recorded somewhere he never saw. Evening, the word he said to the empty sedan 30 minutes ago. The tape clicks, resets, loops. He listens again and realizes what's missing. No latch, no laugh, just him. He's the sound now, he's the show. The phone doesn't ring this afternoon, it waits. He waits back. Paperwork becomes a rosary he can't stop worrying. He calls the billboard company, and they deny, then admit, then beg him not to say the word liability in a room with witnesses. He calls the storage facility, and the manager says he's tempted to burn the place down because the units talk at night now, a thin rattle that makes the doors hum like tuning forks. He calls the woman from the rest area. She says her child is fine, thank you, and what happened, and please don't tell me what happened. He hangs up because what happened is still happening. He dresses before dark like a diver who knows the lake. Fresh batteries, fresh tape. A clean shirt he ruins with sweat before the first mile. He tucks the red scarf in his back pocket, a reminder of stakes more honest than charts. He drives with the radio off so the swamp can't sneak in through the speakers. He ignores every ribbon of water that tries to pull him sideways. He takes the overpass instead, then the service road, then the maintenance track behind the billboards, a strip of dirt too stubborn to be mud. Dry land, dry lungs, dry eyes that won't wash tonight's seeing away. 3:21. The shack will be waiting. The chair will be patient. The catwalk will hum with insects that think they own the lights. He feels the message in the envelope beat against his ribs like a second heart. Tomorrow we end it. He knows better than to believe endings. He also knows rituals end because people stop feeding them. He chooses a place the man didn't write into the script, an old way station poured in 79 and abandoned in 02, concrete pads, steel roofs, no electricity, but a line of sight to both the shack road and the billboard ladder. Dry ground, one man, two doors. He sets one camera of his own, film, not digital. He wants a record the man can't erase with a magnet. He tapes the body mic over his sternum and murmurs to the emptiness so the tape won't be surprised when he needs it. He checks the knife, he checks the gun. He thinks of the blood drop that said human. He thinks of her sentence that said dry. He thinks of the future dated photo that said end. 3:30. The world tightens. Crickets fall silent like they got the memo. A truck shifts gears on the interstate 2 miles out. A sigh as old as commerce. The air is a lid that won't lift. He can taste old rubber and ink and fear that didn't learn his name until this year. 3:33 arrives like a man in a doorway who doesn't knock. Somewhere to his left, the latch he knows shakes once, not from the shack, from the billboard's hatch. Somewhere to his right, a shutter coughs, quick like a throat clearing. The way station steel creaks with a footfall above him. He moves toward none of it. He stands his ground on the pad where rigs used to stop to be measured and found honest or not. He raises the pistol and the mic picks up his breath and the tape inside the unit catches a new sound he's never heard at that hour. A step behind him, slow, deliberate, dry. "Evening?" a voice says. A voice that could never be a ghost's because it has tobacco in it and a scar down its middle. Close, too close, no static, no water dry. He doesn't turn yet. He lets the camera he set drink this whole thing. He lets his own tape hear this man as a man. He lets his body remember the chair and the flash and the rope, so the movement he makes now isn't panic, but math, pivot, elbow, muzzle, light. He turns. The sodium spill from the billboards lays a pale skin over everything. The figure stands a step inside it, tall because fear makes everyone taller, thin because obsession files you down to a blade. A cap, glasses, a smile that isn't a smile so much as a door held open by teeth. Tomorrow, the man says, soft enough the microphone will have to lean in to keep it. We end it. The sheriff keeps this pistol center mass and answers the only way the dry night deserves. Tonight, he says, we start telling the truth. The man's smile doesn't move. Somewhere above them, the catwalk hums. Somewhere beyond them, the shack waits with its chair. Somewhere behind them, a cassette reel clicks to the next track. And in the breath between 1 second and the next, the story chooses which door opens first. The way station hums with silence thick enough to feel. The sheriff's pistol doesn't waver, but his hands burn from holding steady too long. The man in the cap doesn't blink, doesn't flinch. He just stands there, teeth showing like he already owns the ending. Sodium light glazes his glasses, hiding his eyes, turning him into a reflection more than a face. The tape recorder on the sheriff's chest drinks every sound. The dry scrape of boots on concrete, the buzz of a lamp that's been dying since 1989, the shallow pull of two men breathing the same poisoned air. The Polaroids in the shoebox back at the station have all led here. He knows it. The predator knows it. And yet, neither of them moves. Then the man speaks, voice low, the same rhythm as the phone calls, but without static this time. Meat, lungs, spit, breath, real. I told you not to follow the water. You didn't listen. The sheriff's jaw locks. Where is she? The man tilts his head, a puppet twitch. She sat in the chair. She watched you circle. She begged. You didn't come. A pause, then softer, almost tender. Now it's your turn. The sheriff steps closer, barrel aimed at the chest, eyes straining for a twitch, a muscle, a tell. The man doesn't give one. He just smiles again, slow, stretching until the sheriff's skin crawls, then flash, white, blinding. The shutter's clap echoes off the concrete. The sheriff fires on instinct. The round slams into steel. Sparks bloom. The man's shape collapses backward, not falling, retreating, slipping into shadow like he rehearsed it. The sheriff runs, boots pounding the old scale pad, light swinging. He follows into dark, breath tearing his chest, but when he clears the corner, the figure is gone. No footsteps, no engine, just the smell of burned powder and the echo of laughter riding the highway wind. On the ground, a Polaroid curls in the heat. He snatches it. His vision swims as the image bleeds through. It's him. Gun raised, mouth open, eyes wide, captured in the exact second before he fired. Caption gouged into the bottom margin. Too slow. 3:33. He drops to his knees, photo shaking in his grip. Somewhere in the swamp, a frog croaks once, twice, then falls silent. The way station feels colder than the shack ever did. Because the shack was theater. This was real. Flesh, blood, breath. He was close enough to touch, and he still slipped away. The sheriff staggers back to his cruiser. His reflection in the window doesn't look like law anymore. It looks like a man hollowed out, lit only by obsession. He drives without knowing where. Past the boarded diner, past the bait shop, past the park where the album appeared, every landmark a scar, every mile marker a countdown. The Polaroid burns in his pocket like a coal. Back at the station, the clock strikes 3:34. He pins the new photo to the empty board, the last in a sequence that has consumed years. His own face stares back at him, trapped, played, branded by the predator. He whispers, voice ragged, tomorrow. But the room answers with silence. By morning, another headline hits the wires. Florida 1999 cold case deepens. Sheriff hunted by his own investigation. The town, what's left of it, reads in silence. Families who fled shake their heads in distant kitchens. Mara's name is still on lips, still carved in memory, but hope has gone stale. The sheriff walks through daylight like a ghost. Every door feels like a trap. Every shadow looks like a camera. Every ring of a phone, every click of a latch, every flash of light could be the next move. He's not sure anymore if he's chasing the predator or if the predator has already written the ending and he's just walking the script. And when night comes again, when the clock stumbles toward 3:33, he feels it in his bones. The game isn't over. It never was. The chair is still waiting. The shutter is still cocked. The laugh is still in the air. Cold case, unsolved, unfinished. And in this town, in this man, in the swamp that never forgets, the story isn't closed. It lingers. It breathes. It waits. Because in Florida in 1999, one girl walked out into the rain and vanished, and the echo of her footsteps still hasn't stopped. At 3:33, the phone rings, and somewhere a camera flashes.